back home in Connecticut.
It took hours to get into town with dozens of power lines down and hundreds of trees down. The danger, you can still hear some explosions, those tires, those propane tanks.
You really gotta hold on to the microphone or your cap.
We've been traveling eastward as this storm progressed throughout the day. All this water is supposed to flow into the Quinnipiac River, but when there is a lot of rain like we saw this afternoon, it gets backed up. It's a bright and beautiful December day, and the colder it gets, the more some want to get out and play. It's about using all of their senses in order to hit the water and build some confidence. Cruising off the coast of Florida, about 16,000 feet. The prosecutor with the state's attorney's office called it heinous. This is a young man who has wanted to be a lawyer since grade school, but he's no ordinary applicant, and he's willing to fight for what's just. For someone that works day in and day out, having an opportunity to get into real estate is enticing, and a foreclosure can sometimes be one of the best options. But these properties can come with baggage like a bad relationship that will haunt you. Good evening, and thanks for joining us. I'm David McKay. If you're not a fan of the heat, I've got some bad news. It's going to feel like the triple digits outside before the weekend is over. The state's firefighting agency, CAL FIRE, says it's running out of money in the middle of a busy fire season. The snow may be ending, but there's more unsettled weather just in time for the weekend. We're told the people living in the 5 different apartments have been forced from their homes after the fire spread from one multifamily building to another. Welcome to Lost and Found. We're joined this morning by the protectors of animals, Christine, and she brought a ferocious beast. I'm kidding. His name is Nico. And he's actually already adopted. I'm taking him home with me. The death of a Cheshire high school teacher continues to send shockwaves through a community. If you want a flu shot but still haven't gotten one yet, you're in luck. New tonight at 11. This weekend, police expect boaters to beat the heat by hitting the water. But investigators in Old Saybrook warn that if you plan to drink and boat, prepare to pay the price. We made it to Norfolk, Virginia, home to the largest Navy base in the world. Right behind me, a $13 billion aircraft carrier being built. They told me to bring a blue t-shirt, some black boots, to become a sailor for a day. Chaos.
Organized chaos.
On a floating fortress that gives the U.S. its total air superiority.
There's just so many things going on, so much danger, but excitement.
But before catapulting 0 to 160 in a matter of seconds or climbing aboard, you gotta get geared up. A sailor has a lot to carry.
The major thing is learning how to put them in this small little bag.
Petty Officer Second Class Matthew Casella helped show us how to put on the pants at the Navy Exchange. They've outfitted generations.
So your belt buckle is supposed to line up with the edge of your zipper.
Casella is from Milford, Connecticut, now working with computers on a carrier.
I watched Top Gun as a kid, and I was like, man, I want to do that. And here I am.
Highway to the danger zone.
Hello, Davey. Headed off to the Navy. And after just a few minutes, you'll see that your circulation starts getting cut off in your arms and your shoulders, and your hands start to go numb.
Oh, good.
To get the blood pumping again.
So we're going to show you some forward airspeed, we're going to do some approaches, we're going to show you a coupled hover and some other stuff.
A tour of Norfolk Naval Base from above.
About to get an MH-60 Sierra. These were produced by Sikorsky back home in Connecticut. They're used on many different missions, including search and rescue, like in the recent hurricanes in Texas, Florida, and Puerto Rico.
The blades drown out the noise while your eyes take in the size and scope. An opportunity for people to see what they're paying for.
What they're paying for is the world's finest Navy, and it's staffed by people, young sailors that are from your community.
Kilo Countermeasure Squadron. We deal with minesweepers.
Back on solid ground, Jordan Coben works on the attachments that go on some of the helicopters.
19 years old. I'm actually from Milford, Connecticut, the town right next to Stratford, where they make the aircrafts.
From the Northeast to the farthest points in the world, the U.S. Navy can be found.
But an aircraft carrier is a different animal from anything else in the Navy, or I'd argue in any of our services.
Join us as we fly over the Atlantic.
You can see the deck right there.
To board the USS Harry S. Truman.
There's nothing else like it.
To give you a look as we climb through miles of passageways. Get a hand on the pulse that drives a warship forward.
They go pretty much down 6 decks, down to the shaft alley, so just watch your head.
And meet the men and women who serve our country.
We're all suited up, we've got our name tags on tight, and we're all ready to go. Over the next couple of days, we'll see something that most people never get to experience, traveling by land, air, and sea, all to give you a first-hand look at the men and women that protect us day in and day out. I'm David McKay in Norfolk, Virginia, Channel 3 Eyewitness News. Friends have erected a memorial for the 19-year-old here on Park Street, right next to the bus stop where the stabbing occurred. But this tragedy has affected multiple families.
He walked up to my boy and stabbed him.
The victim, 19-year-old Javanique Dean, had been walking with his friend Desmond Carlson on Park Street last night around 11:20.
There was a van parked here. There was a guy that came out of Walgreens.
Police said it was 44-year-old Hartford resident John Drayton.
I reviewed the video just recently, not something I want to see again.
Drayton told detectives that the young man had asked to take his van and there was a dispute.
They tried to get him to give them a ride. And when he refused to give them a ride, they started to become angry.
The young men said it was unfounded.
He came around this way, around the fence.
Police said Drayton took a knife out of his pocket and stabbed Dean.
I thought he punched him in the stomach and knocked the wind out. I tried to give him CPR, but nothing was working.
Dean was rushed to Hartford Hospital, where he was pronounced dead. Police said one witness followed Drayton in his minivan to his apartment on Broad Street after the stabbing. According to the arrest warrant, when 2 patrol officers got there, Drayton stated, "I already know what time it is," and put his hands behind his back. Today, police cadets were still looking for the weapon that was ditched.
He maintains his innocence.
Today in court, Drayton's attorney said he was accosted, and they are waiting to see the surveillance.
We believe there was a punch thrown by one of the youths that hit him.
Drayton has a criminal history.
Last conviction I'm aware of was from 2009.
Drayton has been a lifelong resident of Hartford, married 14 years with 4 children, carrying 2 jobs. One as a security guard. Family had no comment outside the courtroom.
You know, y'all real hard-headed. Back up, please.
Now another family and friends mourning the loss of an aspiring rapper with the alias Young Porsche that had plans on being married one day soon.
I was the last person he saw before he left this earth. So I feel like it's my responsibility to make sure that he's remembered as the great person as he was.
This is Hartford's 15th homicide of the year. That's in comparison to 17 this time last year. Police aren't releasing the surveillance in this investigation as they are still trying to piece it all together. Drayton is due back in court on the 9th. He's being held on $1.5 million bond. In Hartford, David McKay, Channel 3 Eyewitness News. It's a bright and beautiful December day, and the colder it gets, the more some want to get out and play. Thankfully, I wore my long johns today. Roll that dramatic cinematic title sequence. Let's get this sled going, or mush, I should say.
I'm Julia, and I'm a musher.
Every musher must have their team. Meet the cast and crew.
So this is Riker. He's the baby. He's about 8 months old, so this is his first season, his first time with snow.
The oldest dog is teaching the new one all the tricks. Barks, the 8-year-old with baby blues, helps bring up the back. Then you have Zola and Mochi, the 2 ladies in the middle, and Khan and Spock up front leading the pack. Bit of a Star Trek trend if you haven't noticed.
These are Siberian Huskies.
And they've been bred to sled.
They love it. They love to pull and run.
There's still wolf in them. Old and cold habits remain, ancient instincts urging them onward. But moving as a united pack comes with months of training.
So I've been doing it 8 years now.
Julia Klauke has been enthralled with dog sledding since she was a little girl.
When I was a kid, my mom read Balto to me. I was just fascinated by it, by the sled dogs and the snow and the winter, and I just thought it was the coolest thing.
A brief history lesson for those who may not know. Balto was a Siberian Husky who led his sled team on the final stretch of the 1925 Serum Run to Nome, Alaska. It was a relay in brutal weather conditions to transport an antitoxin to combat the outbreak of the deadly disease diphtheria. To this day, the Iditarod Trail Sled Dog Race, the largest sled dog race in the world, commemorates the trip. And there is a statue of Balto in New York City's Central Park.
Originally from Connecticut, but I grew up in Uzbekistan.
Unfortunately, Uzbekistan is mostly desert, so Klauki had to put her snow dog dreams on pause for a while.
After college, I got my first sled dog, and I started with a bike and just him, pulling my mountain bike, and from there my team kind of grew. And then I started training others that were interested in the sport, and it just kind of went from there.
Klauki has trained with the best.
When I first got into the sport, I went out and trained with a woman who actually runs the Iditarod, Karen Ramstead.
Ramstead has run the Iditarod 11 times.
And a couple of my dogs are from her, so some of them, their parents have run Iditarod.
Now a Reading resident, Klauki has become a dog sled trainer.
Right now, I'm a dog trainer, and I do train people to do urban mushing, and then I also work with shelter dogs. I'm surrounded by dogs all the time.
Urban mushing is when you have a dog or two, and they can pull you on a bike, scooter, or skis. Makes the hobby a bit more all-seasonal.
We do this all over Connecticut, so state parks, anywhere where there's a nice trail that they allow bikes, wheeled carts, that's where we go.
For a dedicated dog sled lover like Klauki with 6 dogs, it is a lifestyle.
If I get home even at 8 o'clock at night, I go out, I put on my headlamp, I put light-up collars on the dogs, and we go out and we run.
And just like any athlete, they have their days off and downtime.
They're couch potatoes as much as they love to get out and run.
These dogs can run hundreds of miles in a day and wake up the next and be ready to play. Hot air from their howls hits the cold air with excitement when their paws hit the snow.
I think they're very happy to see some snow finally.
Without much snow early in the season, Powder Ridge Ski Resort in Middlefield provided a special opportunity for us to see the dogs stretch their legs.
Yes, why not?
The pros top out in the 20s for speed, but to move as a pack, they must learn the basics.
Train them with particular words that they pick up. They hear the sounds, they know what it means. G means right, pause left, on by is to pass something. Usually, I'll do a high pitch like, all right, you ready? And they're like, oh yeah, we're ready, let's go.
Over the years, Klauki has networked and promoted the sport by going to schools and talking with people that show interest.
I love this sport so much, and I love these dogs so much that I really want to share it with as many people as I can.
Klauki says she would consider moving to a colder climate to pursue the sport. The teams that run the Iditarod have 16 dogs, and while she enjoys the competition even right here in the Connecticut State Forest, there is a simple reason to hook up the sled every day.
They love doing this, and that's why we do it. We do it for fun.
You don't have to have a husky to do it. Some people use pit bulls, hounds, or other breeds.
Mushing, it seems for a lot of people, they're like, oh my gosh, I never really thought of the sport, but it's a really great way to get out and exercise your dog, especially in the winter when it gets cold.
It's a chance to get outdoors, appreciate nature, and build upon a bond with your dog.
When you go out on the trail and you're both just all ready to go and share the same experience, and you kind of feel that and have the same excitement as your dogs do, there's something really cool about sharing that passion.
You can learn a lot from these dogs and the characteristics that they carry: trust, responsibility, reliability, pride, and they've got a lot more to offer as well. But for now, it's time for them to head home and put their heads down, because tomorrow is another day. On the slopes of Powder Ridge, David McKay, Channel 3 Eyewitness News.